Hello students, welcome to VAYU News IS Analysis of 14th July 2026. Now let's get quickly into today's articles. So the first article what we are going to see today is regarding about India's energy security. Remember this topic of energy security is in news daily. Why? Because the issue here comes is that blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, where much of the supply chain and also transport happens through this particular strait. This blockage of particular strait has resulted in global crisis, which has increased the transport costs, for many countries. So this is the main issue that has been highlighted here, like the crisis of energy security, means how India is going to tackle this particular crisis of the energy security. Why? Because if you see, India like almost imports around 90% of its energy security from other countries. So the major countries where India imports are especially Gulf countries. Since in order to import from Gulf countries, we need to pass through Strait of Hormuz. So there is an issue. So this is the issue. In this regard, here the thing that is highlighted is that what about the concept or alternative usage of the compressed biogas. So this is what is being discussed in this particular article about the compressible biogas. Now here it is, this compressible biogas is chemically identified to CNG. Okay, compressible natural gas. It is chemically like identical, but it is also renewable. So these are the characteristics of the CBG, that it is renewable and at the same time it is identical to compressed natural gas. So here this article has also mentioned about some of the schemes. Let's say the schemes it has mentioned is Satat scheme and also Govardhan scheme. So you must be aware of these two schemes. One is Satat scheme and another one is Govardhan scheme, where the main aim of these two schemes is to increase the production of the compressed biogas. It is to increase the production of compressed biogas. So here mainly the articles nowadays that are mentioning about are like alternatives, like alternative ways, like how India can manage the crisis in the world and how it can have its energy security for the country. So this is the article that has been highlighting daily, where various alternatives we are being seeing daily, like various alternatives. Let's say in today's newspaper they have mentioned about a compressed biogas, and yesterday's newspaper we have read about ethanol, where we have ethanol blending program which targets to reach by 2030. Okay, and along with that we are seeing the articles daily on the renewable energy. Especially we are seeing the articles daily with respect to solar energy. Like the position of India and how India has became one of the world topmost producer and usage with respect to the solar energy. So this is how the alternatives are in the news daily. So there is a possibility of mains question this year with respect to energy security of India, where in detail you need to mention about the synopsis and also the current situation and also steps needed to be taken by India in order to address this issue and also in order to reduce the dependence. What should be done? Now here, and this is the current scenario. Now here what happens is that this is produced from a product from the agriculture crop called maize. So it is the main producer or raw material for production of the CBG, and here the issue comes when this maize is in scarce. So because of the high demand of the maize for the production of this, maize is getting scarcity and the prices of the maize are also getting increased, and food insecurity. And food insecurity is the major problem that has been highlighted here. So the major problem highlighted here is that food insecurity. Now here the thing is that despite of all these alternatives, there are some of the challenges. Like the main challenges yesterday, like what we have mentioned, is also regarding ethanol, where first generation ethanol has been used for the production of energy security things. In the first generation ethanol, which is being produced from the food crops, where food insecurity is one of the major problem even that we have discussed yesterday. So of course there are alternatives for production of the energy instead of depending on other sources or other countries, but the thing is that food inflation and at the same time food crops are being converted into cash crops, where India needs to import in that cases, which automatically increase the issue. And along with that, there are some of the other issues, like some of the other issues in its working. Like yesterday we have mentioned about the ethanol, where low energy density of ethanol is also a one of the problem. Low energy density of ethanol is also a one of the problem. So here in the same way it is mentioning about the compressed biogas. It is asking about the compressed biogas, where the main problem quoted here is about the food insecurity and also about the changes in the cropping pattern. Changes in the cropping pattern. Here you need to link it with the agriculture paper GS3. In GS3 you need to link with the agriculture. So the thing is that entire article is interrelated, where from the food security you are transitioning into the concept of the agriculture. You can link especially in the paper of GS3. So this is what is being highlighted in this particular article, and also it has given like examples of the various countries like Denmark, how it has alternative sources of energy apart from depending only on the one particular source of energy. So this has been highlighted in this particular article. So in this scenario, daily you are getting any one of the newspaper article with respect to energy security, you need to be aware of the what is energy security. And now let's see this article, like what you should do for prelims and the mains point of view. So in the prelims point of view, what is important in this article is about schemes. So in the prelims point of view and in the mains point of view. In the prelims point of view, what is important is knowing difference between the compressed biogas, compressed natural gas and also piped natural gas, and at the same time you need to be aware of ethanol versus and ethanol blending program, and also what are the places of strategic petroleum reserves in India. And along with that, top countries which are holding these resources, and also a ranking of India with respect to renewable energy. Let's say for example, what is the global rank of India in the solar energy production, wind energy production, like third, fourth, like that. So this is what you need to be understand from this prelims point of view. And in the mains point of view, what you need to understand from these particular articles is that you need to identify and understand the current issues that are being faced by the world today, and at the same time what are the alternatives, what are different alternatives that are present over, and how these alternatives are advantageous, and at the same time how these alternatives are disadvantages. You need to be aware of both the things, like how to minimize the disadvantages and how to convert it into positives. So you must be aware of all these things by reducing the import dependency on India and increasing the production of these particular energy security needs. So this is how you need to understand from this particular article in the current point of view of the global crisis. So this is about this particular article. Now let's get into next article. So the next article here, it is mentioning about the unsafe practices. It is mentioning about the unsafe practices, where it is being highlighting about one of the boat tragedy which was happened in the Vietnam. Now the thing is, this particular issue is not in news, but the thing is, what is important for our exam point of view is that in the mains exam point of view, this especially with respect to disaster management, like how disasters are being managed efficiently, is the issue that has been highlighted over here. Here, with respect to, now see, with respect to these boat accidents, we will see what are the steps to be taken in advance in order to avoid. So there are some of the steps which needs to be taken in order to prevent the disaster to happen, and some steps are taken after the disaster in order to mitigate the losses and effect. So in the disaster management, you must be aware of these two terms called prevention and at the same time mitigation, where both the steps plays an important role. Both the steps plays an important role. Now here comes the steps, what steps we need to be taken during the times of the accidents of the boat, everything, etc. So the first and foremost thing what we need to do is that with respect to this, all the safety protocols must be followed. Safety protocols must be followed. If in case these safety protocols are not followed, suitable punishments must be given to that particular boat owners or boat operators, and their license must be cancelled. Those kind of strict measures after imposing of the proper fine must be taken. And along with that, in the review section, where there must be, we must encourage the passengers in order to review and rate about the safety measures. In order to review and the safety measures, even while booking the particular boat and the journey, even at the booking site also, the reviews and the rating of these safety measures, the review and rating of these safety measures must be present. And along with that, after getting into that particular vehicle like boat or something, proper guidance must be given. Proper guidance must be given to passengers, and also we must be take care of the boat operators, and at the same time passengers must wear the safety jackets. And in case of not wearing these safety jackets, we need to take strict action against them and make to ensure that they are wearing the safety jackets. And along with this, before going to start the journey, there should be proper communication, what to do in case of any kind of disaster. In case of any kind of disaster, what are the safety measures that the passenger needs to be taken, and at the same time, what are different exit routes. What are different exit routes where a person can save his life must be already being told to that particular passengers. And along with that, this proper communication must also be present in the form of the sign language Because in order to understand for the particular people with the vulnerabilities like hearing and the disability problem. So these steps must be taken. Now here, how can we integrate the concept of technology? So here, how can we integrate the concept of technology for increasing the safety measures? The first and foremost thing is that we can use various new technologies. Let's say for example IoT, like in case of any disaster or the issue that has been happened to the boat, it automatically send the location and at the same time it will send the warning messages to the safety team. So this is how we must integrate the technology, and at the same time there are some of the hotspots like which are frequently accident prone. So those hotspots must be avoided, and passenger safety is the first and foremost thing. So the thing is that while focusing on both prevention at the same time mitigation, the focus should also be present also on the safety measures. So this is what you need to understand from this particular article, like what are the steps of prevention and what are the steps of the mitigation, because safety measures should become both from the management side and also passengers side, So this is what is being highlighted in this particular article. So this article is regarding the mains point of view. Now, especially in the prelims point of view, what we need to understand, and in the mains point of view, what we need to understand. Now, in the prelims point of view, you have nothing to understand except Disaster Management Act. You need to be aware of Disaster Management Act and National Disaster Management Authority, and State Disaster Management Authority, and also District Disaster Management Authority. And you need to be aware like how this non-constitutional body works and who is the head of this particular non-constitutional body. You must be aware of these particular things. And now in the mains point of view, you need to be aware of steps to be taken from both passenger side and at the same time management time during the prevention, and also you must integrate this with the usage of the technology while reducing this particular disaster risk. So this is being highlighted in this particular article. This is what you need to understand from both the prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's get into next article. Now, so the next article here is mentioning about the populistic goals. Means in the same way it is mentioning about the freebies, where this article has mentioned about the state of Tamil Nadu. Let's say a recent scheme of presenting a small gold ring for the birth of the newborn baby in the government hospital, and at the same time it is also mentioning about the few more freebies that are present in this particular article, where what we should learn from for the exam point of view in this particular article. So this article mainly focuses on the concept of the freebies. Now first, what are freebies? Freebies are nothing but free measures which are given to people, whether it is goods or services, whatever that are being given free are known as the freebies. Now, this freebies has both advantages and disadvantages. Especially for a developing state or a developing country, this freebies is must and should, but at the same time, this also presents some of the negatives. First, let's see what are the positives of government, any particular state government or union government promoting or providing this particular freebies to people. The first and foremost positive thing, what is because of the freebies, is that it increases the welfare of the people and it provides the basic services or basic needs for the people who are not able to bear. Let's say for example, in some of the south states and also north states like Delhi, Tamil Nadu, And at the same time, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, where there is one scheme called Free Bus Initiative for Women. So, this scheme is very helpful for the female labor and also female workforce and female students who are traveling long daily. So, particularly this scheme is helpful for the welfare of specific vulnerable sections of the society. Specific vulnerable sections of the society. So, this is the one of the positive thing of this particular scheme. Whereas, you can link this with increase of the employment opportunities. Increase of the employment opportunities where there is a chance for decrease in gender inequality. Like there are some of the freebies, and let's say some of the freebies like which are providing free food grains to the people of especially the vulnerable sections. Those people we can prevent them from the issues like malnutrition, and so that will increase the food security of India. This will increase the food security of India. So, this is helpful in both with respect to normal people and also with respect to health of the people and in many ways. So, these are like some of the positive things because of the freebies. Now, there are some of the negative things also. Let's say the negatives of this particular thing is freebies is that economic drain on particular state or a country where the budget or the amount of the money expenditure that it spends on welfare activities. The amount that it spends on the welfare activities gets reduced. So, this is the main issue where welfare is getting compromised. So, this is the issue that has been highlighted over here, and at the same time, it is also causing inequalities. It is also causing inequalities among the people. Let's say, for example, from place A to place B, the bus ticket costs, let's say, some 250 or 200 rupees. So, a person who is earning only 500 rupees a day as a wage labor, it is very beneficial for him because he is getting 200 rupees free, where all 500 rupees can get into his particular pocket. Now, let's say for example, another woman is there. Let's say she is earning some 5,000 per month. Here, she is also getting 5,000 whole amount. But for this woman or for this person who is earning 5,000 when compared to person who is earning 500, it is very, very beneficial for this. So, the thing is that providing freebies to this particular second person is like a waste of usage, waste of money, and at the same time, it compromises on some of the welfare activities, especially for the vulnerable sections like aged people and also for women, etc. So, there needs to be a compromise of welfare of some particular sections and there is growth of welfare of another particular sections. So, this is what is being highlighted in this particular article about the concept of the freebies. Now, we must understand like what are the possible solutions. Like what are the possible solutions in order to avoid or in order to reduce these negative disadvantages because of the freebies is that first and foremost is rationalization of the freebies, where we need to be aware and calculative of number of people or the target group who can receive the freebies and at the same time who are eligible to receive the freebies. So, some of the criteria must be fixed. In order to target particular group of people who are eligible to receive this particular freebies. And at the same time, specific amount is being allotted in the particular budget in that particular year with two particular freebies. So, instead of spending too much amount on freebies while compromising the welfare of the people. We must invest like fixed amount of the money, especially by targeting particular amount. So this is how we need to be like taking care, like because providing freebies is also one of the measure which also boosts the welfare of the people automatically, and at the same time this also must be done like rationalization. So this is the thing what you need to understand from this particular article. Now let's get into the next article for today. So the next article for today is especially for the students who are studying their anthropology as an optional. For anthropology students especially, where this article is mentioning about the linguistic diversity, where it is mentioning about the relationship between linguistic diversity and at the same time relationship with the genetic diversity. Why? Because both linguistic diversity and genetic diversity are related with each other. So this article is highlighting the relationship between both the terms like linguistic and the genetic diversity. Now here the point that has been mentioned over here is, in case of, let's say, there is a place called A, there is a place called B, there is a place called C. Let's say A and B are separated, let's say some around 50 kilometers. B and C are separated, let's say some 60 kilometers. Whereas A to C is separated by 110 kilometers. Okay, so this article highlights how linguistic diversity happens. So according to this particular article, linguistic diversity happens because of the isolation, of the population, this linguistic diversity is getting happened. Now, the first and foremost thing what you need to understand from here is that in case of a group of people who are moving from A to B, which is of less distance. So, consider, let's say people have moved from A to B. Now, in B, what happens is that genetic diversity is increased and at the same time, linguistic diversity is decreased. Linguistic diversity is decreased because these two are geographically past to one another, nearer to one another. Whereas in this regard, where the distance is much larger and when this isolation has happened, the exactly reverse will get happened here, where linguistic diversity with respect to people from region A to people C increases and at the same time genetic diversity with respect to people from A to C reduces. So this is what is being highlighted from this particular article, where anthropology students must relate with the Unit 7 in paper 1. Unit 7 paper 1, like regarding the concept of origin of language, where there we mention about isolation as one of the factor that is mentioning about the origin of language. So this is the article which you must use in your mains point of view, especially for the anthro students, how linguistic diversity is developed because of the isolation or moving away of one particular population from one region to another region. Now, you can interlink this particular article also in your 6th unit, especially on the chapter on the theory of diffusion, where you need to understand about the theory of diffusion, how the people or the culture has been transferred from one society to another society or another location, where the culture called language is being transferred and at the same time which it is related with the genetic diversity also. So this is being what you need to understand from this particular article, especially for the anthropology students. Now, the next article for today, what we are going to see is, so here this article is mentioning about the retail inflation. Now, before going to understand this particular article, so this article is not that much important for you, but the thing is the basics of this particular static content. So, the basics of this particular is important. First and foremost thing, you need to be aware of what is inflation and the concept of the inflation. What is inflation? Now, inflation is nothing but increase in the prices of goods and services. Increase in the prices of goods and services is known as the inflation. Now here, this increase is also must be periodic. Must be periodic. Means, let's say, for some days these prices are increased and for other days these prices are decreased. So, this should not be the criteria. The criteria must be either continuous increase must be happen. So then that particular condition is called as the inflation. Then only that particular condition is called as the inflation. So this is what the basic definition of inflation, what you need to understand. Now here you also need to be aware of what are the different types of inflation. So, different types of inflation you must be aware of. First is demand pull inflation and the next one is cost push inflation. Now, in this demand push inflation, the major thing is that the increase of availability of money, the increase of availability of money with the people will increase the demand for goods. Will increase the demand for goods. Automatically, high amount of money, it is chasing the few goods. So, let's say there are only 20 goods that is being present, but the amount of money that is present at the whole society is like 1000 rupees, whereas each good costs only 5 rupees. So, too much amount of money is chasing the very few number of goods. In that case, this particular inflation is called as the demand pull inflation. Whereas, this cost push inflation, it is nothing but the inflation or the rise in the prices that is happening because of the rise in the prices of the basic necessities or the raw materials which are needed to manufacture that particular goods. Okay, so then these type of inflation is called as the cost push inflation. So these are the two types of inflations basically which you need to be aware of. And along with this, you need to be aware of the indicators which are used to measure the inflation, that is WPI, wholesale price index, and at the same time consumer price index. So, in the consumer price index, where the prices of the goods where the consumer used to buy daily, so the prices of that particular goods are traced. That particular goods are traced, and that concept is related to this particular retail inflation, where this retail inflation measures the increasing cost of the daily usage goods where the customer is buying. So this is how you need to understand like the basic concepts before going to understand this retail inflation concept and everything, etc. Now, in the prelims point of view, let's see this article. So these are the like basic knowledge what you need to have before understanding the term called retail inflation. Now, the thing is like how we need to understand this particular article in both prelims and the mains point of view. Now, in the prelims point of view, this article is very, very significant, especially with respect to GS3 economics, where economy in the subject where you need to be aware of definition of the inflation, types of inflation, and also causes of inflation. At the same time, what measures are needed to reduce the inflation. So the same content you also need to be read for the mains. But especially in the prelims point of view, you need to be aware of what are the components of consumer price index, what are the components of wholesale price index, and which organization is measuring or setting the targets of inflation, especially that RBI sets the target of the inflation. So these are like some some of the basic things and the basic differences what you need to be understand in the prelims point of view. Now in the mains point of view, as I already discussed, these basic static content like causes and also measures in order to reduce the inflation where you must be aware of. Okay, so this is what you need to be understand from this particular article. And in the prelims point of view, read one more thing also, like in what number of years and in which years and how many years this inflation has been occurred in the country. So this is what you need to be understand from this particular article regarding the inflation. Okay, so this is this particular article. So these are the today's newspaper articles which you need to understand extensively. Now try to link and relate each and every article with respect to prelims and also mains. Why? Because you need to see each and every article in the perspective of both the prelims and also the mains. So don't see them separately. So this is for today. So if you like the video, please like, share, comment and subscribe to VAYU Academy. Thank you.